This is the traditional and quickest way to build forms in n8n using n8n's built-in form trigger node. You can pick the fields that you want to add, and you can get your most basic form up and running, right? But this approach comes with a couple of downsides, and let me discuss them with you. The first one is limited customization. The built-in forms look very basic with minimal options for layout, branding, or advanced field types. So if I just open this node again, if you have to customize the UI of this form, then you would have to write a custom code or inject custom CSS into it, which quickly becomes complex as the number of forms grow. And then the second point is tightly coupled with workflow logic. So every form is directly tied to your workflow. So this means if you want to make changes, manage multiple forms, or reuse forms across projects, it quickly becomes confusing and really hard to maintain. And so what I mean by that is this is just a simple node here, but in real world scenario, you would have a lot more nodes connected to it in order for you to complete this entire workflow, right? And you can't really copy paste or clone the same workflow again and again, as each project would have its own requirements. So this quickly becomes tightly coupled, as every time you have to work on a project, you have to completely build the workflow from scratch. As the front end, which is the form trigger node, this is where you define the fields and how the form would look like. And after this, the backend part, what I mean by that is the other nodes which completes this entire workflow, right? So these two are tightly coupled, so you can't really clone it and use it for all your future projects, right? So you'd have to rebuild it from scratch every single time. And then the third point is scalability and reliability issues. So as your needs grow, duplicating nodes and logic for each new form or projects leads to a mess and error prone setup. I have personally faced some issues like expressions breaking, multi-page forms timing out. So these are some issues that I noticed while I was working with the form trigger node, right? Which, like I said, you can't really clone it and use it for every fresh project that you work on. And also I've noticed sometimes that the form doesn't really work as expected. Sometimes it just takes quite a long time to respond, or sometimes it just breaks in between. So that creates some uncertainty while using n8n's default form node. So how do we deal with this with a better approach? Slightly improved or the better approach would be to use or build your own custom forms with HTML or any other front-end frameworks, right? So for full control, you can build your own forms using HTML, React, or any other front-end framework that's available. So even this approach comes with its own demerits, where it goes like, the first one would be high effort and ongoing maintenance. So every new form means writing and maintaining more code, field by field, validation by validation. So for agencies and teams managing multiple forms, this quickly becomes unsustainable. So every new form requires you to write the code again and again, and you would have to make sure to add and set up the validations perfectly, and also manage the code, right, for each form. So that becomes messy as the number of form grows. And then the manual integration and technical hurdles, you would have to securely connect each form to your webhook, handle errors, and ensure data is sent and received correctly. So you're responsible for all the validation, spam protection, and compliance. So since you're taking everything into your own hands, you would have to manage, build and manage everything, and also make sure that the entire workflow works without any issues, right? So you'd have to set up all the validations and make sure the UI is perfect, and also handle spam protection, which is a big headache, and also deal with compliance again. So since you're handling everything on your own, you would have to take care of this as well. So no centralized management, there's no dashboard or unified place to manage all your forms. So as the number of forms grows, it gets messy and hard to track which form is connected to which workflow, right? So this is also another problem, since you don't have a central place. You would have to pay attention to each form individually. And also, if you want to make changes to those forms, you would have to rewrite the code, upload it again into your website, and republish it, right? And then this cycle gets daunting over time. So there's no one place where you can just modify the form, click a button, and then the changes get auto published. So there's no privilege as such if you're dealing with custom forms. And then the last point is workarounds for advanced features. Features like international phone input, date pickers, file uploads require extra libraries or custom code, adding to the complexity, right? So if you're dealing with phone input or date pickers or file uploads, these are considered to be complex uh, input fields. Then you would have to write some more additional code which adds more complexity, or use some external libraries, which again causes issues while you have to maintain its version and also keep updating the code as it evolves, right? So this also adds the complexity if you're dealing with these complex field inputs. This was about building custom forms with your own custom front end, right? And these were some of the issues with it. And what's better than this approach is the third one, which is using existing form builders, right? You can use commercial form builders like Typeform, Google Forms, Jot Forms, etc. There are so many in the market, which make it easy to create and share forms without you writing any code, right? So you can use these platforms, especially if you're a non-technical person. Then you can just quickly build forms using their visual interface, drag and drop the fields, and quickly set up forms and get started. Right. So this is the third approach, and this also comes with a couple of downsides where I would like to highlight these. So the first one is data privacy concerns, which seem to me as a major pain point, as these form builder platforms store your form submissions on their servers, which can be a deal breaker for sensitive data or strict compliance needs. So I've personally run into this when clients needed all data to stay within the infrastructure, right, which existing builders just couldn't deliver. So this was one of the main reasons which led me to create a solution which I'll discuss further in this video. But so this makes a lot of sense when you're dealing with automations, especially where there's personal data of customers is involved, right? And most of these businesses that use these kind of automations, sometimes they're very strict about how their data is being handled. And this is actually my personal experience when I was trying to have conversations with couple of businesses located in EU region, and they were really keen to add some automations into their business, and they consistently pushed me towards using or building a custom solution so that they can deal with the data directly without having to go through these form builder platforms, right? Because they store their data, and then it creates a lot of headache when it comes to data privacy and complying to the regulations like GDPR and things like that, right? So this was one of the main reasons, and which I'll talk about a solution in a bit. And integration hurdles. Direct webhook integration is often hidden behind paywalls, require extra steps, or isn't as flexible as you need, right? So these platforms also allow you to connect your webhook to their platforms and receive data, but usually it's not as straightforward as it looks, right? Usually it's behind paywalls. You would have to pay or upgrade to their paid plan in order for you to use this. You won't get it by default for free, and it's not really as flexible. Limited control and branding. Because direct webhook integration isn't their main focus, you're often stuck with their branding, limited customization, and rigid data routing options, right? So since they don't really focus much on giving you the direct webhook integration, since it's not their main focus, so their main focus would be to give you a really good interface where you can just build forms easily and accept submissions, and then they charge you based on the number of submissions that you receive, right? So that's how they usually work, and this will lead you to not having much control over how you want the data to be sent over to you, or you don't really have much control over the data that's being sent from them. And then the last point would be compliance headaches. So storing data externally complicates GDPR, CCPA, or other compliance requirements, making audits and privacy reviews more difficult. If you have an in-house solution where you deal with the data directly, then you don't have to deal with these regulations, and you're complied by default, right? So that's something that you have to deal with if you're using a form builder platform, existing form builder platform, and have to make sure that they're truly compliant and they're not causing you headaches. So these are the three methods I would say that lets you build forms and connect it to your n8n so that you can accept data from outside, right? So we have discussed all the three methods and also downsides of all those methods. So what's the solution, right? After seeing these pain points firsthand and hearing from agency owners and automation clients, I built a solution to solve all these problems. Introducing Form Zero. So Form Zero is a privacy first form builder, specially focused towards automation platforms. Right. So let me just discuss all the benefits and see how it resolves all the problems that we just discussed earlier. Right? So the first one is professional customizable forms in minutes. So you can build professional and customizable, totally customizable forms in minutes. You can choose from a wide range of field types, set up validation, organize your layout, and even preview changes and test submissions before publishing the form. Right. So all you have to do is just drag and drop a couple of fields into the form, just like you would with a traditional form builder platform. And you can set up validations right within and set up the layout, and also you can preview the changes live and see how your end form would look like. Plus you can also test submissions before actually publishing the form. So I'll show you this in practice. So but first let me just go through these ones. Our USP, or the core proposition of our platform, is truly privacy first, meaning form submissions are never stored on our servers. Data is instantly and securely routed to your webhook, so you stay in control. Right. So this is one of our core proposition, which is we don't store any of your form data. All the data that our user provides and submits is directly transferred or submitted to your webhook. So you stay in control and you take care of the data. Right. You have full control over it. And direct webhook integration, connect your forms directly to n8n, make.com, Zapier, or any custom backend. No extra connectors or workarounds required. So all you have to do is just to build the form, connect it to your webhook, whether you're using any automation platforms like n8n, make.com, Zapier, or any other platforms, or you can use your own custom backend for this. You can just connect your webhook to the form that you just created, and all the submissions go directly to your backend. Unlimited forms and submissions. Create as many forms as you need. Collect unlimited responses. So the only limit is what your backend can handle, right? So this is one benefit that I'm happy to offer, which is you don't really have any limits on the number of forms that you can create or the number of submissions that you can receive, unlike many other platforms, right? So there's no limit to it. You can create as many number of forms and receive unlimited submissions, right? So the reason why we do this is because we don't really have a cost involved when it comes to storing your form data, right? So I can just give that or pass over that benefit back to you by making it completely unlimited. So the only limit is what your backend can handle, right? So that's the only limit. And then zero data storage on our servers. Like I said, we never store your submission data, making compliance with GDPR, CCPA, or other similar regulations straightforward. So these regulations apply only if we store data. So applies on data persistence. Since we don't store anything, so we are automatically complied. So our platform is automatically complied with these regulations. And centralized dashboard, so manage all your forms at once, right? This is one major advantage where you don't really have to run back and forth between different platforms. So you can manage all your forms at one place, build it at one place, and then just make changes. Click a button, click a publish button, and then your changes will be live. And then secure by design. Webhook URLs are encrypted and stored. So we take privacy and security as our top priority, which is why we encrypt and store the webhook URLs that you add to the platform. And we use the state-of-the-art encryption algorithm in order to encrypt the webhook URLs and store it inside our database. Easy sharing and embedding. So share forms via link or embed them anywhere with a responsive design that works on any device. Once you have built your form connected to your webhook, you can easily share it by just directly copying the direct form link, or you can just embed it into your website by by pasting the small JavaScript snippet that you get into your website, and the form would show up instantly. So those are the options to share your form to the world. So enough talk. Let me actually take you through the platform and show you everything. Right. So all you have to do is just to visit form0.app, and you'd be taken to the platform itself. And this is the landing page. You can read more over here. And like I said, it's the privacy first form builder for automation platforms, not just limited to automation platforms, but you can also connect it to any of your custom backends, and all the submissions go straight to your webhook, never stored on the servers, because we don't really have any database or an infrastructure to store your form data. So all the data just gets directly submitted back to your webhook. And these are all the core benefits or offerings that we have. So create customized forms in minutes. You can connect directly to your webhook. No limits on forms and form submissions. Zero data storage on our servers, and GDPR CCPA compliant by default. And you can read more over here. And if you just scroll down to the bottom, so here are the 3 steps that you just need to follow in order for you to build the form and start receiving submissions, right? So these are the 3 steps which you need to follow, and let's get started. So first thing is to log in into the dashboard. Let me just quickly log in. Okay, I'm here in the dashboard. So you can see all the forms that are already added here. So I can just quickly create one. So let me just say demo form. Seems like it already exists. Demo form 1. Okay, it's created. Okay, once it's created, you get to see this interface where on the left hand side, on the left sidebar, you get to see all the different kinds of input fields that you can add to your form. It's starting from the most basic short field, short input text field, to the most advanced file upload field, right? All you have to do is just to click on this field, and it's automatically added to the interface, right? To the form builder interface. And over here, this is the main section where you would see the form structure, right? You would see all the input fields, and you can just sort them, reorder, reorganize, and do all kinds of customization, right? And so this is the most basic form structure that you get by default. So it comes with a title, a submit button, and also you can customize this thank you message, which we'll cover in a bit. And on the top we have 3 different options. So basically these are the 3 different steps that you need to go in sequence in order for you to start from building forms and to start receiving submission. So this is the first section called as builder section. This is where you build the form. And then if you go to webhook section, so this is where you associate or connect your webhook to the form, right? And then the third option is to share this form with the users, right? So this is the section for that. And over here you have options to publish or unpublish the form, right? Since by default it's unpublished, you can build the form and then publish it. And here you can preview the form, right? If you just click on that, you get the preview, and you can customize it. So if you just go back to the builder section, and so right now just have this option of customizing the font. I'm actively working on adding more customization options, so you'll soon see more options here. And then you have the save button, where after making the changes to the form, you can just save all these changes, right? And this is how it looks like. So starting from this, we have a header here, and then we have submit button. We can just update every little detail from here, and it gets instantly updated. And as you type or make changes to these fields, right? So for example, let me just add the short text input and file upload, right? So let's say enter name. I can set up the placeholder. For example, I can say John Doe, and add description here. Enter your real name, and as you can see, as I type over here, it gets automatically updated in real time, so that you get a better experience while building the form. And webhook key, this is the field that you need to define, and this is what you'll receive in your webhook, right? So for the name, this will be the key. So make sure this is something easily readable, so that you can easily pick it up on the backend, right? And default value, you can set a default value. By default, when the form loads, this will be pre-filled into that field. If you don't want, you can just leave it blank. And you can set it required, and you can also set the character limit, and this is how you add validation to any field, right? So you can just set it to required and set up these rules here, and it would automatically be applied. You don't need to write any code for this. And you can duplicate the same field again, and if you don't want it, you can just remove it. And same applies for all other fields, right? So each field has its own set of attributes and rules associated with it, and you can just customize everything, all the details that's present there. So for file field, let me just say upload file. So this will be the label, and description, I don't want anything. And for key, let me just say um, file upload, something like this. And I can just mark it as required, and I can also accept multiple files. I don't really want this now, so I'm just going to keep it disabled. And maximum file size, I can just set a limit here. So if a user tries to add a file or upload a file which is bigger than this, then they would automatically be stopped or blocked by saying by throwing an error message. Right? So this is how the validation is handled by default. So all you have to do is just set up and configure these options here for each field, and they would be automatically applied without you having to worry about it or add additional code, right? You don't have to do any of that. And then allowed file types, you can just choose between different file types that you want to allow users to upload. So for now, I think I'm just fine with PDF, doc, or let me just also accept these ones, right? And once I'm happy, I can just close this and see, take a look. So this is how it looks like. And we can also update this thank you message. So let's say thank you, and I'm just going to remove this, right? And thank you message is something that they would see once they successfully submit the form, right? And in order for you to get a clear picture of how the form would look like, you can just click on preview and test. If you just click on this, so this is how the form would look like at the end, right, when you publish it. So you would see the form title. So you can see all the customizations that you did in the previous step. Enter name, upload file, we've marked it as required. And you can, if just try to click on submit, you can see all the validation errors showing up here, right? So this was about preview section. So until now, you have built your form and took a preview of how the form would look like. Now it's time to connect your webhook, right? So you can just connect your webhook so that we can do a quick test submission before we publish the form, right? So first, let's add a webhook. Click on add. So you can just choose the type that you want to accept, request type here. So by default, it's set to post. You can choose between patch and put. There's not really much difference. It all depends on different purposes, but for most cases, post is what you would go with. And let me just go back to my n8n workflow here. And let me just delete this form node. I don't really need this anymore. Instead, let me just choose a webhook node. And since our method that we're using over here is post, let me just change the HTTP method to post, and click on production URL, copy this, and just set it to active. Let me just activate this. So once I've set it to active and copied the production URL, I can just paste it here and click on test connection and save. So it's going to make a sample request to the webhook and see if it's alive or not. And once if it confirms that it's alive, it automatically saves it. So now this webhook is connected to your form. So all the submissions from now on will be automatically be sent over to your webhook, right? So let me just go back to the builder. So let me just confirm this. So I can see it's kind of blinking in orange color, meaning that there are some unsaved changes, right? Let me just quickly save it, right? So this is the form that we have. We have an input field here for entering user's name, and we have an upload file upload field. Let me just quickly preview that again. So this is the form, and if I just try to submit it, you would see validation errors. Let me just try to do it, fill it out, and make a test submission. Right. So name would be John, and for file, let me just click on this. Let me choose this one, gradient HTML. Since we also accept HTML files, right? Click on open, and you can see this file here. And once I click on submit, yep, it says form submitted successfully, and you can see the thank you message, right? can close this, and if I take a look at the executions history, and you can see the latest one here. Let me just wait for it load. Yeah, so you can see we have received the file. It's called gradient HTML with the same key that we defined in the field. It's called file underscore upload. If I take a look over here, so it's the same key, right? So that's why this webhook key is really important. So make sure it's something readable and it makes sense so that you can easily read and use it inside your workflow. And this is the file, and talking about the name, it's over here, right inside the body we have the name and John, and the name is being picked from this key, right? So if you just name it a name underscore sample, so the next time you submit the form, this would be the key, right? Yep. So you received the data over here, and inside the binary you have the file, right? So no matter how many fields you have in the form, all the data that's submitted in the form will be received inside this body, so that you can pick it up and use it. And one important thing to notice, all the data that you receive will be in the form of string, right? So you'd have to parse it accordingly using JSON parse or parsent and other JS functions, right, which you can read more about here. So I've given clear instructions on how to set up these structures and also how you can parse it. So what we did till now is we built the form and we connected our webhook to the form, and we also made a test submission, right, using this preview and test. So now I think everything is fine. So I think we can publish this form and start receiving submissions from outside. So what I can do is I can just quickly copy this link. Let me just copy this and open it in a new window. It says the form is not available because it's set to unpublished, right? Let me just publish it, and I get this confirmation. Let me just confirm. Okay, now the form is published. So if I just refresh this again, you can see the form with the same fields that you've customized in the dashboard, and you can just share this direct link that you just copied here to anyone, and they can start submitting the data, right? You can start receiving submissions, and this is the first way of sharing the form using direct link. And if you want to embed the form, right, and you have these three different options. The first one is iframe embed. Let me just copy this iframe and paste it into one of my static HTML file here so that I can show you how it gets added. So let me just add it over here, and let me just open this HTML file. If I just drag it here, yep, this is how it looks like. So you can see the form here. You can see the form is embedded into your site, and users can fill in the details and upload the file, right? Let me choose the same file again and click on submit. Okay, it says thank you, and let me just check over here in the executions. Just wait for it. Yep, if I just take a look at it, yep, we can see file upload. We have received the same file again, and in JSON, remember we have changed the key to name sample, and then the data which was entered in the form was received here, right? Perfect. That's it. So this, I think, was a very quick demo of how you can get started, starting from building form to connecting with a webhook and sharing it. So these are the three steps that you need to follow in order for you to get up and running. Let me just go back and yep, get started now for free. So like I said, Form Zero is primarily designed for anyone who needs secure, customizable forms that integrate seamlessly with any automation platforms or your custom backend. So without the privacy, security, or maintenance headaches of traditional solutions. So this is the core proposition of Form Zero, which is it being a privacy first form builder for any automation platform or your custom backend. I'm actively working on adding even more features to make building and managing forms even easier. So the version that we have is the version one, you could say, where you can build forms very easily and very quickly and get started and start receiving submissions. But you can still see some missing features like more customizations. You can just update the forms, the font right now, so you can customize the font, but it still lacks some more features like updating the layout or choosing different colors to match your brand or website, right? So those features, and also some advanced features like conditional rendering of these fields, right? Conditional display or hiding, and multi-page, and then many other complex and advanced features. So those are still missing, but I'm continuously working on adding it every single day. So that's one point. And if there's something specific you'd like to see, or if you have feedback on the platform, please feel free to let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And you can also join our Discord group for discussions, which I'll link it down in the description section, where we can discuss, and I'll keep you updated with the progress and the updates that's happening with the platform, right? And finally, try it out. Head over to form0.app and start building your form for free. Like I said, it's totally for free. You can create unlimited forms, receive unlimited submissions. So thank you so much for watching this video till the end, and I'll keep you updated with any updates and the progress that's made to the platform. And I'll see you again in another video. Until then, take care. Good day.